Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to today's video. I feel like this setup is so weird. Reading has always been something that I'm super passionate about. All of my life, I have always been a reader. My family literally is like always making fun of me for how much that I've always loved reading. I've always read, but I have never read quite this much. Like, I'm looking at the books surrounding me, and that's not even all of the books that I have read this year. We'll get into my stats and everything here in a minute. I've only been doing booktube videos for a few months because I never really knew if my audience cared about that. I should have been making them anyway because it's like my channel and I should just like talk about what I want to talk about. I never knew booktube existed. Literally, like I said, I've always read books, but usually I would just go to like Barnes and Noble and I would just kind of look around and like whatever book's synopsis sounded cool to me, I would read. I wasn't one of those people that I didn't even know booktube was the thing, so I've been missing out. What got me really into reading this year? So I have always read, like I said, just not like on a huge level. Like, I wasn't like reading over 10 books a month like I am now. What got me back into reading was at the start of 2021, I found Noelle Gallagher's channel and I was like, holy crap, like, this is so awesome, like her videos are so cool, and she talks about all these books that I've never even heard of before. Like, this is like a whole new world for me of books, like a whole new world of books opened up for me. And at the same time, Book Talk got thrown onto my For You page. So that is what introduced me to my first book that I read this year, which we will get into here in a second. First, I want to say that this video is going to be longer. I'm just going to put that out there because I have read a lot of books. I'm not going to tell you guys the synopsis because that would take forever. I'm just going to tell you what I rated it and like my thoughts in like a sentence or two and then move on. Buckle up, grab a snack, grab a drink. Speaking of that, I need to get my cup. All right, we are all nice and cozy. Have on my cozy zip-up jacket. I have my new cup, have on my trusty slippers, and we're gonna start talking about some freaking books, everybody. Let's get excited. Okay, let's talk about my stats. All of my socials are always linked in my description. If you guys are ever wondering what any of my socials are, I have both my Goodreads and Storygraph down there as well, but if you guys are ever wondering where to follow me, and you guys should follow me on my socials, so. Here are some of my stats. In 2021, I read 104 books. Just let that sink in. I don't know how I found time to read 104 books, but I read 104 books. I read in total 37,222 pages. My shortest book was 176 pages and my longest book was 720 pages. My average book length was 357. The most popular book I read this year was 1984 by George Orwell. And my least popular was a book that I literally just read this month, which was Blame It on the Mistletoe. My highest rated book on Goodreads that I read this year, not as in like, I think we all understand what I'm saying, as in it's the highest rated book on Goodreads out of what I read this year, is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So yeah, now we are just going to go on to Storygraph, and Storygraph kind of breaks down more of like the genres that you've read and everything. So I read a lot of emotional books and lighthearted, reflective, tense, and my highest genre that I read was romance, and then literally so close in second place was contemporary. My most read author was Colleen Hoover. I don't think anyone's surprised. And my average rating was a 3.7 stars. We are going to get into the books that I read this year. Oh, and I forgot I have to find the books. Like, this is gonna be so annoying to put the books back because I am too lazy to keep all of the books on my shelf and then add in the pictures. I swear that's worse than just taking the books off the shelf and putting them back, but it is gonna be pretty annoying to put them back. The first book that I read this year, and the book that got me back into reading, which may be a little surprising to some people, is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So if you guys were on Book Talk for the beginning of the year, you would know that this book was flying around everywhere on TikTok, and I saw it. I remember this one girl's specific TikTok, and she was like raving about it, and I was like, I literally went to Barnes & Noble and picked up this book, and I was like, I have to read it. So I did, and I loved it. This book, I'm pretty sure I started off the year with 5 stars. I love this book. A lot of people say it's really slow paced and they don't like it that much, but I absolutely freaking love this book. The beginning is slow, but I swear it's worth it. Also, I don't know why this book was not counted. I think I didn't actually start my Goodreads like 2021 reading challenge until like a week or two into the year, but I had read 2 books before I like started it. So another book, so technically it'd be like 105, but I'm not gonna mess up my stats. But I also read Where the Crawdads Sing because this is like a book that was just widely popular and still is. I really like this book as well. I'm pretty sure I rated this about like a 4 stars. This is like advertised as a mystery book, and you don't really get to the mystery until like the last, I would say like 70, 80-ish% through the book. This is more of like a tale of this girl's life and how like whatever, it's a work of fiction, but I really freaking love this book, and I never talk about this book, but I absolutely love this book, and I do want to reread this in 2022. The next book I read was The 2 Lives of Lydia Bird. I used to have a physical copy of this book, but I really did not like this book. I rated this book a 4 stars. Like now going back and looking at it, this book was definitely a 2-star for me. I had never actually, when I was reading books, I was never actively rating them, so the rating system was a little for me, so I'm gonna go back and correct some of these ratings. But this was definitely a 2-star for me, that's why I got rid of it. It just wasn't it for me, especially the ending. The book was extremely boring, and I never read another one of Josie Silver's books because I just didn't like it. Next book I read was 1984 by George Orwell. I gave this a 2-star. Absolutely didn't like this book. This book's a classic. Didn't like it. I had to read it for school, which maybe that's also another reason why I didn't like it. But it just was so boring and mundane, and I didn't like the way that a lot of things were talked about in that book. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And then I read Jo and Laurie. This is like a retelling of Little Women, and they basically make it where Jo and Laurie ended up together, and I just have always rooted for them. And then I read this book and I was like, holy crap, yeah, it's meant to be the way that it originally was. I gave this book a 2-star. It was just like a retelling, so it wasn't like all that, but I just was like, this book's not that good. Next book I read was A Little Life, which was the longest book I read this year at 720 pages. I rated this book a 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. I do always want to say when I recommend this book, it's hard to recommend this book because it's an absolutely beautiful piece of work. I absolutely love it. The way it's written, it feels so real. Like you feel like you're actually in it with these people, like these are real people, but they're not, thank God, because I could not take it if these people were real. Let's just be honest. I was definitely way too numb to cry. So many things happened in this book. Definitely check trigger warnings if you ever want to read this book, if you ever want to put yourself through 720 pages of extreme emotional trauma and torture, then read this book. But I absolutely loved it. It's just beautiful, and I think that they are now classifying this as a classic, which absolutely deserves it, because this was in the classics section of my Barnes & Noble, and I've kind of seen that around that this is going to be a classic, so A Little Life. So around this time is really when I started getting into book talk, and I really started picking up and reading really talked about book talk books. So that's when you'll see a little trend of like, I was really going through the TikTok books. So the next book that I read was The Silent Patient, and I have always liked thrillers. Honestly, I read like romance and thrillers, that was about it. This was a 5-star for me. I absolutely love this. You guys have, I don't know if you guys, how you guys have not heard about this book if you haven't. Plot twist in this book, absolutely insane. I love this book for its writing. Such a diverse storyline, and I just could not guess the plot twist, and a lot of times in mysteries and thrillers I can, and I just was blown away by his work, and I really love it. And then I read Such a Fun Age. This gets the most like beautiful cover award for me this year. I absolutely love this cover. I don't know what it is about it, but I also really enjoyed this book. I gave this a book 4 stars. I just don't know it's weird because like I just honestly really enjoyed the story. I was really into it, and that's about all I can say for this book. I definitely want to reread this and pick it back up at some point in 2022. Then I read Writers and Lovers. I gave this book a 4 stars. Now I would lean more towards like a 3.5. This was definitely because I watched Noelle Gallagher's 2020 wrap up, and this was like one of her favorite books of the year. And I also liked it, but it was just so boring at some points. And like I said, this was at the beginning of the year whenever I didn't really have a whole entire like system and actually understood my personal ratings. So I gave this a 4 stars because I enjoyed it, but then I didn't understand that I was bored at some points. I didn't care about some of the storyline, and I didn't like the main character that much sometimes. They both die at the end. I remember seeing this book so many times in Barnes & Noble and always wanting to pick it up. And then when I got on Book Talk and saw this was like one of the most hyped up books, and I was like, okay, yeah, I need to read it. So I did, and I absolutely loved it. I gave this book a 5 5 stars. Yes, a 5 star. Still love this book. I really need to pick up the physical copy of it. I think I am going to at some point this new year. Like in the month of January, I'm going to pick up the copy of this book because I just really liked it. It was really hyped up in the beginning of the year, and now I feel like when people are, they're like, this is overhyped. And I'm like, I just really enjoy the story. Such a unique storyline. I never talk about this book. I genuinely think I wanted to put it in the back of my brain, like never ever think about this book again. And that is, I'm thinking of ending things. This book, I remember reading it, and genuinely after I read it, I was disturbed. I was in such a weird mood for the rest of the day, which I hate when TV shows, movies, books, anything does that to me. It instantly makes me so angry when I feel so weird. And I know people are gonna be like, that's what the book is supposed to. I don't care. I don't care. I give this book a 2 stars because of that. Because I was like, I know this book is supposed to disturb me, but genuinely I feel so off, and I just didn't like that. And then I read The Midnight Library, which I rated 5 stars. I'm now gonna knock it down to 4.5. I still really like this book, just not as much as I did when I first read it. I'm pretty sure, again, this is a book that we've all heard talked about. Really liked it. I really liked the subject matter of the book. It really hit close to home with me. So I feel like that's also why I liked it. And I love the idea of like, if I would have made this decision, how of my life turned out. So it was a really fun book. This is another book that I do really want to pick up because I want the physical copy of this because I want to reread it. Oh my gosh, I can remember reading this book, The Light We Lost. I hated this book. 2 stars. I hated our main character, hated her. I feel like we were supposed to root for like the direction she was going, but she was literally just screwing so many people that were so good to her in her life and screwing her life up. And I was like, no, not with it. So this book was a 2 stars for me. Really didn't like it. And I'm pretty sure there's a sequel to this book, and I did not even bother reading it. And then, like I said, Noelle Gallagher got me into reading. So she got me to read this book, and it became one of my favorite books of all time. The Hating Game. We know this is 5 stars. We know, if you watch my videos, how much I love this book. And I just absolutely love it. I love the storyline. Can't wait to reread it in 2022. I'm really weird about rereading books in the same year that I already read the book. Like, there are quite a few that you will hear me say that I'm going to reread in 2022, but I just would not reread them in 2021. I don't know why, I'm just really weird about it, but I love it. I did watch the movie though, and you guys have been asking me how I felt about the movie, and I just didn't like it. Just gonna be so honest, it felt like a Hallmark movie, and I hate Hallmark movies. And then I read Everything I Never Told You. This book is really widely talked about. I gave this book a 3 stars. It was okay. It was okay, and I really can't remember that much about it, so I think that says something. I think I'm gonna knock this down to a 2.5 just because I can't really remember much from this book, but I do remember not really liking it that much. And I know people love this book, so I don't know. Honestly, I just can't remember that much about it. And then I read Beach Read. 5 stars, and another one of my favorite books of all time. I absolutely love this. I definitely way prefer this over People We Meet on Vacation, which I will be talking about that later into the video. But I absolutely love this book. I read this book within a day, and it became quickly one of my favorites, and I cannot wait for Emily Henry's new book. I've read the synopsis, I've seen the cover, and I'm sold already. And I know I'm gonna love it because it's about like 2 people who are really into books. Chef's kiss, love it. Okay, and then I read the Summer I Turned Pretty series, all 3 of them, like within 2 days, I'm pretty sure, because they're really short, they're young adults, so they're easy to get through. As a whole, I'm just gonna rate the series as a whole. I'm not gonna go through each individual rating for the book. As a series as a whole, I'd rate it a 3. I'm just not really into that much young adult books. Like, a lot of young adult books really disappoint me. I'm just gonna be honest. The love triangle thing, not it for me. I really don't like books with love triangles in it, but I just wanted to read the series because I saw so many people being like, the Summer I Turned Pretty series, it's a book that like really got me into it, and I was like, okay, I'll read it, because I didn't really have any other books to read at the time. And it was okay. Like, it's not like I'm like, ew, I hated this, but it was just cringy. Again, like, young adult can be really cringy for me at sometimes, or it can be like, okay. And this just felt really like immature. Then I read We Run the Tides. This was a book that I'm pretty sure I just like saw on Libby, and so I read it. This book is definitely like a 1 star for me. I gave it a 3 star. Don't know what I was thinking. Definitely 1 star. Hated it. I can't remember much about it except thinking that this book was just like no storyline, no plot. I thought it was going one way, but it definitely wasn't going that way. It was just really confusing. It felt like a coming of age story is what they were trying to get at about this girl, but no. Then I read Misery by Stephen King, and I definitely was in misery. I gave this book a 2 stars. I really didn't like it that much. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's just like, I just didn't like it that much. Then I read Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This was my first Sally Rooney book, and I rated this 3 stars. I don't know if this is a 3 or 2.5 stars for me. I've said this before, I don't like Sally Rooney's books. I will not be picking up any for other books. But this book just, God, I really hated all of our main characters. I really hated them because people try to say like her writing's super realistic. I never want to encounter anybody in my life that acts like this. This time next year, this book was awful. I rated this a 3 star. I'm gonna push it down to a 2. Just, it was so boring. And then like once we finally got to the plot line, I was over it. The X talk, this was in my, I am really empty about already finishing The Hating Game, and I need to find a book similar to this. And I remember Noel Gallagher hauled this book, and I had seen some people talking about it, and so I read it. It was a fun book. I rated this 3 stars because I really liked the podcast format. I love podcasts. I really liked the storyline of the book, but just the chemistry between the two, they just weren't my fave couple ever, and I wasn't really rooting for them that much, but it was a fun book to read, so I gave it 3 stars. Then I read Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. This book is kind of getting more hyped up on TikTok right now. This was another book that I saw on Libby and just read. I gave this book a 2 stars. I really didn't like it. It's like academic rivals, so it's kind of like an enemies to lover situation. It just wasn't for me. Then I read Shipped because, again, this is another book that people said was like The Hating Game. This literally on the book is described as The Honeymooners meets The Hating Game. This I read in the wintertime though, and the setting of this book really kind of took me out of my seasonal depression a little bit. I really like the setting, you know, you're on a cruise, but the thing is, the main character was so hard to root for because like her and this guy, basically it's like an enemies to lover situation, but then when you figure out like why her and this guy don't get along, you're kind of like, and the girl was just so rude for like what reason? I don't know. It was just really frustrating. Then we have People We Meet on Vacation. Read this when I went to Texas for SneakerCon with Isaac, and I gave this a book of 4 stars. People really favor this book over Beach Read. I don't see how, because I'm just gonna be honest, like Poppy and Alex, I really didn't buy into their relationship. I definitely thought that they should just stay friends because I felt like it was a wee bit toxic. I thought it was a little toxic, and I was just kind of like not rooting for them, wasn't feeling that whatever inside of me, but I definitely, like I said, still a good book, still enjoyed it. At first, the ending a little bit, I was like, are we about to go right here? Are we about to do this right now? But then it went a different direction, so. And then we read The Unhoneymooners, another one of my favorite books ever, definitely a 5 stars for me. The wittiness of this book, the banter between the 2 characters, I really loved. Something about this book that gets criticism is like on the last kind of part of this book, it takes a little plot line turn, and people are like, I didn't like that. I personally liked it because they couldn't stay on the honeymoon forever, and I liked that we got a different storyline. I don't know, I enjoyed it, and I really loved this book. 5 stars for me. I have books all over the floor, and it's kind of really making me upset. And then I read Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This book was a 5-star read for me again. This is the only Kristen Hanna book I've read, and I read it because it was a Netflix series, and then after I read this book, I loved it so much that I immediately wanted to watch the Netflix series. And didn't even get, I think, 15 minutes into the first episode, they changed so much. They changed one of the best parts about this book in the TV show, and I was like, no, I'm not even gonna watch it. Absolutely not. But I really love this book because you're basically following 2 best friends through their teenage years all the way up to like their late adulthood. And it's just like a really, really relatable tale of friendship and the ups and downs of friendship, and how strong, how weak a friendship can be at sometimes, and just different stages of life. It just felt so real, and also felt so therapeutic for me. I was going through something really, really hard during the time that I was reading this book, and this really hit really, really close to home, and I feel like honestly, this book helped me get over some tough things, so this book will always be special in my heart. Then I randomly just picked up Actor Age Eve Brown. I feel like because I saw a lot of people saying this was their favorite out of the like Brown sisters. There's 3 books in this series. This was the last one, and I literally only read the last one. Also, yes, I dropped this in the pool. I read this during the summertime, and I dropped this in a pool, so now it's ruined. I gave this book a 4 stars. I would now give it a 3.5. Just because after I look back on it, I just didn't really enjoy it that much. Then I read The Last Goodbye. This was another just random book that I picked up on Libby. I gave this book a 3 stars. It's definitely a 2 star. I don't know what is up with me and like these ratings. I definitely put more thought into my ratings later into the year because I was really getting used to this like whole rating system. Definitely a 2 star for me. This book deals with grief and from both characters. So I'm just gonna say that both characters, I can't remember if she like, I think she tries to call her dead ex-boyfriend's number one night, and then someone picks up because his number gave to a new person. So she kind of talks on the phone with this new guy. It's like therapeutic for her and him because they both have these issues from like stuff that they've been through. I do remember it was weird, and I felt like the book was like so slow, and then the ending was so rushed where I was like, this makes no sense. And then I went on vacation and I read 2 very random books. First, I read Clara and the Sun. This is like, I don't even know what you would classify this book as. I gave it a 4 stars though. It was really interesting because it's like a fiction book. It's almost like scientific fiction, kind of takes place in the future. It's about like AIs and stuff like that. It was super random for me. It was a little hard to understand at some moments. The ending did make me cry. I didn't know I could cry over a robot, but I did. Because like the AI, it's almost like take place in the future where AI technology is more of the wealthy people that get to buy these robots to make best friends for their kids, and they are like super intelligent, can like do everything that a human can, which is terrifying. But it didn't take a terrifying turn, thank goodness. And Clara is like this really wholesome AI, and like she almost feels human emotion. Like she's really different from the other ones because she feels likewise human emotion. Symbolism was amazing in this book. The writing was amazing, but it was just like so weird to me because usually I don't read that genre, and I picked it up while I was on vacation, but I really enjoyed it. And then I picked up Malibu Rising. I gave this book a 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. I think it was like me being on vacation. This takes place in Malibu. This was my second Taylor Jenkins Reid book. We'll get into the first book that I read because I'll explain that to you in a second. But this was my second Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I saw a lot of hype about this, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to read it. The cover also, let's just talk about the cover. I love it. And I was super excited, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the storyline. It's one of the people from Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. They're like mentioned very briefly. It's a book about his family, so love it. I really recommend this book if you guys haven't picked it up yet. Then I read The Woman in the Window, because I know this got turned into a Netflix movie, and Sarah, oh my God, Sarah Caroli, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, and I really don't, not that she's watching this video, but I absolutely love her videos and her book videos. Like she also gave me a lot of good recommendations, and so basically she read this book. I can't remember if she liked it or didn't like it, but I remember her talking about it, and I read it and I didn't like it. People were like, I didn't guess the plot twist. Tell me why I guessed the plot twist literally as soon as like it was introduced. Anyway, like both plot twists, I guessed both of them. I never watched the movie though. I was just like really whatever by the book that I was like, yeah, never mind about the movie. But I gave this a 3 stars. It was just kind of mediocre. Where are you now that I need you? I don't know why I'm just randomly singing Justin Bieber. Then I read The Maidens. This is the same author as The Silent Patient, and I loved it. This has some Greek mythology, some, is there Shakespeare in this, or am I just literally making that up? I can't remember. I think it's just Greek mythology, but it's not like if you don't know Greek mythology, you won't get it, because it's something where like...
Here's an answer from an Alexa Answers contributor that I translated. It means you don't know the answer. There is a need to inquire and study, but it's important to admit that you don't know everything.
Okay, I'm gonna move past that. That was kind of creepy, but they kind of like introduce the Greek mythology and then they explain it. Like they explain what it means in a good way, not like a you're dumb, so let me explain this, but in a like just kind of explaining thoughts kind of way, which was really good for me. I didn't guess the plot twist this one either. He's just such a good thriller mystery writer that I can never guess his plot twist. So amazing. 5 out of 5, like I already said. Or maybe I didn't, I can't remember. And then I discovered our queen, Colleen Hoover. I literally discovered her at the end of the summer. And the fact that I have discovered her literally just a few months ago and I've already read basically all of her books. This was the first book that I read. One of my favorite books of all time. It's in my top 5 favorite books of all time. If you have not seen this book, or if you have and you still haven't read it, please pick it up. This book is absolutely amazing and I cannot wait to pick this back up. I can't wait to reread it again. I don't annotate books. Listen, I hate writing in books. I don't like annotating, but I want to annotate this book. I love it. I love it so much. It like changed my life, truly. I talked about this book for months. I still talk about it. I literally remember I was reading this. I had to tell my mom like everything about this book, had to. And this is getting adapted into a movie. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. It's gonna probably be like a few years before it comes out, but I'm still gonna love it. This is when I made my book talk video. So I read The Song of Achilles. So this, earlier in the year, I tried to read it on Libby and stopped. I DNF'd it. I don't think I was in the mind space to read this book. I feel like this book, you kind of have to be in the mind space to read it. So I was doing my TikTok video. If you haven't watched that, go do it. I like read 4 different genres for my book talk video of like the most hyped up from those genres. So I read this one for my fiction book, I'm pretty sure. I decided to pick it back up. And this time around, I rated it a 4 stars. I definitely don't love it. It wasn't life-changing for me like it was everybody else, but I did really enjoy the book. I did enjoy it the second time around. The only complaint I had is that I know absolutely zero about Greek mythology, and people were like, you don't need to know, like, and no, you do need to know. Like, I felt stupid. And then I read The Cruel Prince. I gave this book away. Didn't want to keep reading it. I gave this a 2-star. I just wasn't feeling the vibe. Just wasn't feeling the vibe, just wasn't the vibe. Ugh, these books are everywhere. Then I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. I gave this book a 4 stars. Everyone is like, this book messed me up. This was another one of the books that I could guess the plot twist literally right off the bat. I'm not even kidding. I just guessed it literally as soon as I was reading. I love Coho. Don't even get me started. I love her so much. But I just genuinely, I'm like, it was just so predictable. It was still good. Like, I thought it was good. I definitely like read this book within a few hours. So it was still good, but just, I don't think it's as like, as everyone else does. And then I read Midnight Sun because I'm sure this was around the time that Twilight got added on Netflix, and I really wasn't about to read the whole entire Twilight trilogy. Is it trilogy? Or is there 4 books? Can't remember. But then I read Midnight Sun because I'd never read it before, and I was reading it as, I wish I had a vlog of my channel. I do. I was reading it as I was watching the Twilight movies, and I don't know if it was because I was reading it while I was watching the Twilight movies that everything just got a little repetitive, and this book is so long. This book is so long. I gave it a 3 stars. It was just like, you got Edward's perspective, you got some new info, but most of it was just like, you got his perspective of the same exact things that happened in the Twilight books. And when you watch the movies, you kind of get his perspective anyway, so nah. Then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney. I gave this book a 2 stars. Part of me wants to pick this book up. Ugh. I'm really conflicted. I really want to watch the Hulu show. I read the book already, so whatever. I really want to watch the Hulu show, and then I want to pick this book back up and try to read it. I was reading the audiobook, and I just don't think audiobooks are for me. There are a few books on this list that I tried to listen to the audiobook, didn't like it, but then read the book and liked it. So I just don't know if it's because I was reading the audiobook or what, but people are loving Normal People by Sally Rooney. And I just originally gave this book a 2 stars. I didn't really enjoy it that much. But then again, I'm like, was it because I was listening to the book? I don't know. So 2 stars for now. Some point in 2022, I think I'm gonna pick it back up. Then I read November 9th by Colleen Hoover. This was another 5-star book for me. I just love Ben and Fallon so much. I love their banter. I love their connection. I just love them. Then I read, so these books, I remember this was August. This was August that I was reading these books. It was so random, like some of the books I was picking up. Like I read From Blood and Ash. I haven't picked up any other books since, and I gave this book a 4 stars. Like this was like one of the only fantasy books that I have read and enjoyed. I just have never picked it back up. Oh my God. Then I read Too Late by Colleen Hoover, 1 star. Listen, 1 star. This book is terrible. I'm not even gonna waste my breath. Then I read Monday's Not Coming. This book was a 4 star for me. When I tell you when the plot twist happened, mind blown, mind blown. Oh my God, it was so good, especially for a YA book. This was a YA book and it blew me away. Then I read another YA book, The Problem with Forever. This definitely felt YA. This is another book that I said, if I was 13, I would have ate this book up and left no crumbs, but I am definitely almost 19 years old and definitely didn't like that book. Then I read Memorial, 3 stars, did not like this book. There's Someone Inside Your House. This was a book that I rated 5 stars, absolutely loved it. It just felt like a slasher film to me. Had those vibes, like I love Scream, I love Friday the 13th, I love slasher films. I was super excited when Netflix was gonna put this out on their thing, and then I watched it and I didn't even get through 10 minutes. I was trying to watch it with my mom and I turned it off and she was like, why are you turning this off? I was like, because it's terrible. Netflix, please stop changing the books that I love. Please stop changing the storyline completely. There is a reason why the book was amazing. Please keep it that way. Thank you. Then I read 99% Mine. I rated this book 5 stars. I actually really liked it. It's not one of those books where I'm like, 5 stars. Oh my God, one of my fave books. It's weird. It was 5 stars because I really enjoyed it, but I don't think about this book a lot. Then I read The Kiss Quotient. This was another 5 stars, another book that I want to buy the physical copy of. Then I read The Wedding Date, 2 stars. Really didn't enjoy this book. I'm just gonna like keep them brief. I've been talking too much. Norwegian Wood, don't know why I picked this book up, but it was definitely a 1 star for me. Then I read The Vanishing Half, gave this 5 stars, absolutely loved this book. This was another book that I don't really read books like that. That's like a contemporary fiction or a fiction book. And I read her other book, The Mothers, didn't like this one as much, it gave it 2 stars. And then I read 101 Essays to Change the Way You Think. I raved about this book, absolutely love this book. I hate self-help books, hate them, never have been able to finish one. But this book applies to so many different people and doesn't just try to fit you into one little box that I feel like most self-help books do. Like, there are 101 essays, okay? And it can apply to anybody. Like, let me show you some of the prompts that are in this book. Like, how the people we once loved become strangers again. And when I tell you, this is like the only book, I like heavily annotated this book and I can't wait. I'm gonna reread this book at the beginning of 2022, the very beginning, because I just need a refresh for the new year. Then I read The Dating Plan. I gave this book 3 stars. It was just a fun little read, but it wasn't memorable. Then I read The Right Swipe. I actually have that book. I'm gonna freaking ditch this into the garbage. This book was a 1 star. And if you want to hear my thoughts on this book, go on my Goodreads and find my review because I think it's kind of funny. Then I read Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. I gave this book a 4 stars. I just thought this book was hilarious. It's like a rom-com. All of their books are like rom-com-y. And I loved Hazel. She was just so sweet and I love her. Then I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Where are you at? Here you are. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because everyone raves about this. I gave this book a 4 stars. I just felt like there was a lot going on is why I didn't give it a 5 stars. Like, I feel like there were so many subplots and storylines going on that I was a little bit like, And so yeah, but everyone's been raving about the other 2 books. So I think I'm gonna be a coward and just like cave in and buy those. Ugly Love. This is another book that I want to pick back up in 2022 because everyone loves this book and I didn't absolutely love it. I gave it a 4 stars. There's just something in this book. I'm gonna say it. If you haven't read this book somehow, definitely skip ahead a little bit because I'm just gonna say it because I guarantee you majority of you have read this book. So just skip ahead to this like timestamp if you don't want any spoilers. But when Miles and his stepsister start dating and then have a child together, it lost me. I'm gonna be honest, it lost me. Like as soon as we meet, what is her name? Rachel? We meet Rachel and I'm like, okay. And then when she shows up at his doorstep and they're gonna be step siblings, I'm like, it should have stopped there, okay? Because that's just weird. I'm not even gonna lie, that's weird. And then when it kept going, I was like, no ma'am. And then Miles was just toxic too. So 28 Summers, Ellen Hilderbrand. I say that every time I see this, it looks like an airport book, but I gave this book a 4 stars. I really love this book, but I'm just gonna be honest, the whole like cheating trope, no ma'am. No, ma'am. Daisy Jones and the Six. Oh, my 5-star baby right here. Love this book so much. Love it. Quotes in this book, the storyline of this book, the way it's formatted, I love everything about it. If you guys have not read Daisy Jones and the Six, please pick it up because I think it's Taylor Jenkins Reid's best book. I'm not even joking. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Hello. So this was a book that I also tried to read earlier into the year, an audiobook that I was listening to. And I don't know if it was because I was really stressed with school at the time. So back when I was in school, I graduated high school this year, by the way. So back when I was in school, I was reading this and I remember I was listening to the audiobook. So I wouldn't really listen to music that much during school. I would listen to podcasts or I would listen to books. So I was listening to this. I don't know if it was because it was a time where I was really stressed or what. But I just wasn't into it with this, and then I picked it up one day because I was just like, let me buy some books, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy it. I rated this at 4 stars when I read it the second time around. It's an interesting story, is all I'm gonna say. I don't love it though. Like this mess around me right now. Like it is genuinely such a mess. We're gonna act like it's not there. Then I read 9 Perfect Strangers and I gave this book a 4 stars. I like this book. It's just that like it's not super life-changing. It's just kind of like a story about 9 strangers who go to the spa resort and then the owner is kind of a little wonky. I wanted to watch the Hulu shows and I was like, I'm not gonna watch it until I've read the book because I'm that person. And then I read the book and still haven't watched it. And then I read Confess by Colleen Hoover. I rated this book at 3 stars. I just didn't really like it that much. Didn't like it. The storyline fell flat for me and I didn't like the characters that much. Kind of the same with Regretting You. I gave this book a 4 stars. Hated the daughter in this book. Hated her. Also the mom, I was like, girl, if you don't go tell your daughter the truth. Little stuff like that just really agitates me and I can't get over it. And I should be able to. I think that's my toxic trait, is that I can't get over the littlest stuff. Then I read The Soulmate Equation. I was super excited to read this book. I gave this book a 4 stars as well. I really, really love this book. I love our main characters, love the storyline. I just thought it was awesome. Ew, I hate when I describe something as awesome. It's like, okay, Destiny, how generic can you be? Then I read The Bride Test, 2 stars. Didn't like this book. I've talked about this book before, so I don't really want to talk about it again. But I gave this book 2 stars because I just didn't even see any chemistry between our 2 main characters. Ooh, this is gonna be controversial because people love Sally Rooney. This was definitely one of the worst books of the year for me. 1 star. Beautiful World, Where Are You? Just didn't like the format of this book. Thought it was extremely boring and it's a little hateful. So no. Then I read the first 2 books in the Romance Book Club. I thought I was gonna just like read this whole entire series at once and then I haven't picked up any of the other books since, which is weird because I really enjoyed it. I think I gave both of these books 4 stars. They're just fun little rom-com reads. They're easy and I just really like them. They're like easy to digest and the characters are super likable because they are professional athletes or like rich, wealthy men who read romance books to understand their wives and or girlfriends better. The Dream, okay? And I read The Heart Principle. This book was 4 stars for me. I also love this book, so should I talk about the books I read in October? I don't think I'm going to. I read all thrillers in October, and I'm just gonna be honest, I don't want to talk about them. So go watch my October wrap up if you want to know about, literally I read all thrillers in October and it just was not a good month for me. So I don't really want to relive that and talk about it. The Love Hypothesis, 5-star book, absolutely love this book so much. I'm seeing a lot of the Love Hypothesis slander lately and my little heart just can't take it because I don't know how someone could not like that book, but everyone's entitled to their own opinions, so I don't take it personally. But if you don't like The Love Hypothesis, please don't comment and tell me because you will break my little achy breaky heart. I think this is one of my favorite books of all time. This may be my favorite book of all time. And that is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Obviously this is a 5-star read for me. Our 2 main characters, it is a friends to lovers story, which is just like the best. I think I love that the most out of any of the books that I read. Just because the connection of knowing someone since childhood, I think because I really relate with that. lot because me and my boyfriend have known each other since we were 12. So I think that's just something that resonates with me. And this book was just really relatable. The two main characters love books, like they bond over books. And that's also a soft spot for me because Hello, the Dream. Love this book so much. Then I read Maybe Someday. What did I rate this book? I forget. This is not my favorite Colleen Hoover book. 3 stars. It was just It was just Here's another book that I started the series and then literally have not picked up any other book. But to be fair, let's be fair, I did read this in November. With only 1 month of the year left, I do think that I'm going to pick up the other books in the new year. So you will be seeing me reading the other books, but I did give this book a 5 stars. I really liked it. So hopefully I like the other books. And I know, see, here's the thing. Let me say this. How many books are there in total in this whole entire series? There's a lot of books in the series. And for me to read a lot of books, I don't know. It's just hard, you know? Series. How do you say that? Series are hard to get into, okay? Especially, how many, I'm about to look it up. Pretty sure there are 4 in the off-campus series and then it's Briar U. I'm pretty sure there are like over 10 books or something. And that's really hard to commit to, but I'm gonna try. And then I read You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle. I had read this on Libby and literally had to go and buy the physical copy of this book. This book was a 4.5 star read for me. Absolutely loved it. Naomi does get super freaking frustrating, which is why I didn't give it a 5 out of 5. But I absolutely adore their relationship and this book is just so heartwarming to me and I love it. Okay, then I'm just gonna talk about all these books at once. So I read The Hopeless, little thingy to do. So I read Hopeless, Losing Hope, and Finding Cinderella. All of these books come together because Hopeless and then Losing Hope is the guy's point of view of Hopeless, and then Finding Cinderella is about 2 of the characters in this book and they all connect because they're all best friends. Both of these books got, I think all 3 of these books, or no, both of these books got a 4.5 and this got a 4 stars from me. I love these books. This is like my 3rd favorite Colleen Hoover book. This is my 2nd favorite Colleen Hoover book and this is my 3rd favorite Colleen Hoover book. Yes, English, thank you. And then I read All Your Perfects. What did I rate this book? I didn't like this as much as other people do. I think I gave this a 3 stars. I did give this 3 stars. I think a lot of people love like their relationship because it's like a past and then present story timeline. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, their like relationship and when they like first started dating was so cute. And I'm like, it's not redeeming enough for me to absolutely love this story and I'm so heartbroken because so many people love it. I thought I was going to too and I didn't like it that much. Then I read Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. She came out with this in 2020, I'm pretty sure. This was just an easy little 4-star read for me. I really love this book. I love the setting of it. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it takes place in Texas, like on the beaches in Texas. And it reminded me of when I went on vacation this year. We went to Seaside, which is like a little town in Florida. And that's what the vibes were in this book. And it just really reminded me of my vacation this summer. So I really liked it and I liked the storylines. So that's the best. Without Merit, 2.5 stars. Really didn't like this book. This book was really weird. And I don't want to say anything else about it. Oh, here we are getting into books that I haven't talked about on this channel before because these are all of the books that I've read this month. The Flat Share, this book got a 4.5 stars from me. I wanted to read this book forever. Finally got around to it because I found it at Half Price Books. Hello, I did a vlog and when I found it, this was one of my best days. Really liked it. I just thought the story was really good. At first it was super slow and I feel like there are a lot of subplots. So I feel like the romance isn't the main focus, but that was okay with me. I didn't think it was gonna be okay with me at first when I was reading it, but it was okay with me. Then I read Holiday Swap, which I rated 3 stars. I'm not gonna talk about this book. So I rated The Holiday Swap 3 stars. And then I rated Blame It on the Mistletoe 2 stars. I literally just did a reading vlog about these. So if you want my thoughts on this, please go watch our reading vlog because I literally just read those books and I don't want to talk about it again. I also read The Simple Wild. I need to read the 2nd book and the little novella that goes with this book, but December Wild, I gave this book at 4.5 stars. Absolutely love this book. My hair is about to dry. Okay, absolutely love this book. Loved it. I'm gonna read the second books soon. Okay, Say You Still Love Me, also got a 4.5 stars. That's the same author. Absolutely love this book. It's also like a past present. They went to summer camp. Love the summer camp vibes. I'm talking so fast. Oh my god. Okay, then I read It Happened One Summer, gave this book 4 stars, liked it, but not as much as other people like it. Anyway. Okay, and then I read literally today and yesterday, The Sinners duet, There Are No Saints and There's No Devil. I gave both of these books, first book 2 stars, second book 3 stars. Not my thing. I don't know if dark romance is my thing, but yeah. Basically, that was it for today's video. Those are all of the books that I read this year. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up down below. And if you guys like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell on the side to be notified whenever I upload videos. Look forward to my new book content this year because I know I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are excited about it. And I hope you guys had a very Merry Christmas and let's have a great, positive New Year. I'll see you guys when I see you. Peace.